If you're looking to buy a stacked NBA 2K account with max badges and more, visit sportstmb.com. He has been in the community for years and has hundreds of reviews. Click the first link in the description to get your account today.
Before this video starts, if you enjoy this video, there are many more like it already on the channel with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. We have nearly daily NBA content on this channel, so if you're looking for some sports talk to occupy your time while the world is on fire, this is the place to do it. Also, there's a new episode of the podcast out. Me and Mojo did a Q&A. It's almost 2 hours long because we were bored, so if you're looking for something to fill some time, go check that out. By the way, I haven't slept in 24 hours, so if I appear in this recording that I am half asleep, that's because I am. Today, I wanted to talk about Kobe Bryant and what was the best season of his career. This may or may not be a series. It depends on how well received this is. If that interests you, drop a comment and like the video, I guess. Of course, with guys like Steph Curry, that video really couldn't be made because his 2016 season was clearly his best season. But with many NBA legends like LeBron, MJ, Bird, Magic, Duncan, and so on, there is some debate to be had about what their best seasons were. Kobe Bryant had one of the greatest careers of all time. It was also a long-ass career. He played from 1996 to 2016, which is obviously 20 years. He's also my personal favorite player of all time. He also died in the past few months, and that's not really relevant to this video, but it also felt weird not to acknowledge it in a Kobe video. Still does not feel real to me. But on that depressing note, what was the best season of Kobe's career? What was the best of one of the best? Let's find out.
Save! Absolutely incredibly with the acrobatic alley-oop!
So there are 6, more like 5 seasons that are really in the conversation for best seasons of Kobe's career. The 2000-2001 season, the 2002-03 season, the 05-06 season, the 06-07 season, the 07-08 season, and the 2012-2013 season. Let's take a look at all of these seasons and determine which one was the best, starting in the early 2000s with Froby. In the 2001 season, Kobe put up 28.5 points a game, grabbed 6 boards a night, and got 5 assists, 1.7 steals, and he shot 46% from the field, but just 30% from 3 on 2.9 attempts per game. Now, this was the season that I was talking about when I said there was 6, really 5. This is the one that really isn't there. The reason for that is with this season, he doesn't really stand out in any particular area, unlike the other years. This year, he scored nearly 29 a game, but his peak scoring numbers are better, and his all-around game was good, but there were also better seasons available for that. So this season for Kobe was obviously still great. There were 14 seasons he had that were worse than this one, but it's not as good as the other 5, and yes, even though he was good in these playoffs, the fact that he was a second to Shaq means that his other playoff performances just simply hold more weight. So we can just put that one at the end easily. But Kobe, 2 years later, had perhaps his most underrated season ever. He averaged 30 points per game, a career best 7 rebounds, and a third best 5.9 assists, a career best 2.2 steals per game, and a career best 38.3% shooting from downtown on 4 3-point attempts per game. That is 3 career bests in one season for Kobe. However, unfortunately, in the playoffs this year, the Lakers would be surpassed by the Spurs. That was despite Kobe's best efforts because he was the best player for the Lakers in that series, but either way, a loss is a loss. Now, after Shaq was traded in the 2004 offseason, Kobe was finally given a chance to be a solo act. And in the 2005-2006 season, Kobe definitely had the best box score season of his career. He averaged 35 points per game, as well as 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 1.8 steals, shooting 45% from the field, and he had probably his best three-point shooting season, taking 6.5 threes a game, shooting 35%. Of course, not his peak three-point percentage, but with his attempts, I'd say this was his best shooting season. As a whole, despite Kobe averaging a whopping 27 shot attempts per game, this was also Kobe's most efficient season, with him having a career-best 58% true shooting percentage. Unfortunately, however, for Kobe and the Lakers, the success here really didn't go any further than his box score, because the Lakers only won 45 games and were the 7th seed in the West. Now, of course, this wasn't entirely Kobe's fault. His roster was not very good. Actually, that's a massive fucking understatement. But at the same time, the Lakers saw more success with minimal roster improvements in the season that Kobe won MVP. I'm specifically talking about that team pre-Gasol, because really the only additions they made was Andrew Bynum became a good player and they signed Derek Fisher, who's an okay player. And despite that marginal improvement, with Kobe taking less shots, that team was on pace for 50 wins. So Kobe shooting the ball this much, despite both his points per game and efficiency being impressive, was really detrimental to his team's success. And come playoff time, they lost in the first round to the Phoenix Suns in 7 games, despite going up 3-1 with Kobe having just 24 points in Game 7. So this was a good box score season, but it does not go much further than just the box score. And the season that followed could also be viewed in the same vein, just a step below. Once again, Kobe got the scoring title, but it was less points on worse efficiency, and once again, minimal success as a team. The Lakers won 42 games, and they lost in the first round to the Suns once again. But this time it was a gentleman's sweep. They didn't even push them to 7 games as a 7th seed, so this is just a shittier version of that season. Now, in the 07-08 season, this was when Kobe's numbers were not as insane. However, his play style was more impactful for winning. This year is often dismissed by the Pau Gasol trade, and what I mean by that is people tend to forget, because of the Gasol trade, that this team was doing well without him. They were on pace to win 50 games. With Andrew Bynum turning into a good player, as well as them adding a few competent pieces, they were on pace for 50 wins. Not a real contender, but a very good team. The addition of Gasol put them over the top, and because of the early success matched with both Gasol making the Lakers even better, and Kobe dropping 28.6 rebounds and 5 assists with solid efficiency across the board, Kobe won his first and only MVP award. And this team, of course, would go to the finals, where they would unfortunately lose to the 2008 Boston Celtics. And I mentioned the Celtics winning a championship, fully aware that anytime it's mentioned, both Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett have a shattering orgasm. Now, I'm sure some of you have thought by now, how are the 2 seasons where Kobe won a championship as the guy not on this list? Well, I'm focused more on the individual here, and while yes, I do feel the success of that Lakers team was mostly due to Kobe, I also didn't feel like he was overbearing, like he just was the team. And because of that, I don't feel that Kobe individually was just so much better or even better than the other 6 seasons that I've laid out here. I understand if you disagree, but statistically, Kobe Bryant in 2009 to 2010 was really no different than any other random Kobe year outside of his last 2. So that's why those seasons are not in consideration here. But now let's talk about the reason that I wanted to make this video in the first place, and that is the 2013 season. To be honest, I only made this video focusing on different seasons just so I wouldn't be blatantly ripping off Dom2K's video about the 2013 season that Kobe had. Some topics are vague enough that you can still do the video, but in that case, that video was too specific, so if you want to see a more in-depth video on this season, go check that one out. I'm not putting a link in the description or anywhere else because 1, you know how to look things up on YouTube, and 2, no free clout, even though he has 5 times my sub count. But the 2013 season that Kobe had was completely overshadowed by the utter shit show that was going down in LA. In the offseason, the team traded for Dwight Howard and Steve Nash in an attempt to build a super team around an aging Kobe in hopes that D12 would eventually follow in the footsteps of Kobe Bryant and be the superstar of the future for the Lakers. to put it as nice as possible, that shit didn't happen. And because of that, Kobe really carried a team that was decently talented, but had a trash fit, a whole bunch of drama, and injury, and Phil Jackson being gone. Kobe this year at age 34 averaged 27, 6, and 6 on solid efficiency. Yes, he did that at age 34, which is why I and many other people were annoyed when the media was trying to spin this narrative that LeBron James was doing something we had never seen at age 34, when Kobe did it not even a decade ago for the same fucking franchise. Unfortunately though, this season ended up being the one that ended Kobe Bryant's career. The thing is, without Kobe having to carry this year, if Steve Nash was healthy and Dwight Howard was healthy and not a bitch, he probably could have played until he was 40, or at the very least, he could have played until he was 38 and not sucked for the last 2.5 years. Kobe dragged this team to the playoffs with his individual dominance, but unfortunately, that carry job kept him from being able to play in the playoffs because of his torn Achilles. And this Lakers team immediately proved just how trash it was without Kobe, when in the first round versus the Spurs, they were swept, losing by an average of 19 points per game. Putrid. So with all of that laid out, what was the best season of Kobe's career? What was his absolute best? Well, first, I think it speaks to the ridiculousness of Kobe that he has 2 different seasons here that are over a decade apart. Like, that's pretty impressive. But let's rank them. Number 6, obviously, is 2001. Already said why earlier. Number 5, I'll put the 06-07 season simply because it was just a clearly shittier version of the season that Kobe had prior. Number 4, I'm actually going to go with that season prior. Being the year that he averaged 35 points per game, this probably isn't going to be popular, but I just don't think anyone shooting the ball that much is conducive to winning. Sure, it was impressive. Sure, Kobe didn't have much choice, but at the end of the day, I don't think that makes his season better than the 3 that are above them. At number 3, I have 2013. Now, you could easily swap 3 and 4 for me because they're actually pretty similar, but I just think this year was a bit more impressive with the internal drama and the age factor. If you think 06 was more impressive, I definitely wouldn't argue with you. And then number 1B, yeah, I couldn't really decide here. I have the 2002-2003 season for Kobe, which I think is the most underrated season of his career. He had an 8-game streak averaging 44 points per game. This was the best all-around game Kobe ever brought. His passing, rebounding, and defense were all at its peak. His athleticism was at its peak, and his skill wasn't quite peak, but it wasn't too far off. And then 1A, I have his MVP season. Shocker, I know. The reason I give this year a mild edge over 2002 is because Kobe had Shaq for a good chunk of that year, and Kobe in 2002 obviously didn't have Shaq, and he took this team to the finals. He did that as the guy, which he did not do in 02, obviously. But I think peak-wise, 2002 was the best player version of Kobe, but 2008 was the best season of Kobe's career, if that makes sense. So, in my opinion, that is what was the best season of Kobe's career, and I'm just going to close the video with Rip Mamba.